Hi, and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. This is actually the process video that comes right after my video that shows my background preparation for my pocket page process. So if you missed that one, it's about, I think it's about half an hour long, and it comes right before this one. But if you're just interested in seeing the process, then stick around because that's what this video is going to be all about. So I did talk about the sizes that I print my photos in that other video. So I have my 4x6s here, and what I'm doing right now is I'm just sorting them into stories. And so here they are, all sorted into stories. And then I also have my photos that are printed up at 3x4. I have to print them a little bit smaller than that, but these are designed to go right inside of a 3x4 pocket. And I do use Design A, Becky Higgins, and so I'm just sorting those into the stories that were already started, little piles, just so that and one of my piles is always random single picture stories. So so I don't know which one that is in this case, but I usually just keep a pile that's just stories that don't have multiple photos. And so now what I'm doing is I'm actually grouping them by month because I am several weeks behind here, and I thought it might be helpful to just get rid of any September photos. So I've kind of piled those into a pile. And then I also did the same with all of my August photos. And so this leaves me with all of my July photos here on the desk. And I have a couple of individual photo stories to tell. And then I also have this big pile of lots and lots of photos from a single story. And I do plan to do a 12x12 page, maybe a double page about these photos, but I still want plenty of them to make it into my project life. So I'm actually going to make an insert here. And so it looks like I'm designing a regular Design A page protector layout here, but it's actually two sides of a Design H, which is half of a Design A. And so all of the photos that are over on the right-hand side will be behind the ones that are on the left side. And so now what I'm doing here is I'm choosing the photos. I knew I had printed up more than what I really needed, but I do want to make sure that I include plenty of these individual photos of Liv with each of her close friends. And I wanted a couple of group photos, and I wanted that silly photo with her making a funny face, and I definitely wanted the sister photo as well of her with her sister. And so I'm looking through my 3x4 cards that came in the summer kits, the ones that I have left. I've already used the kits, but this Celebrate one really struck me as being pretty appropriate. And I'm also going to be using some flips so that I can include more stories on these in these pockets than what I have room for. So this one kind of stands out, this quote about being bold, because I plan to use that on the back side of the flip that's going to show my daughter making a funny face. So I thought that was pretty appropriate. And the photo flips that I use are just little pockets that stick on top of your page protectors, and they're made by Snap by Simple Stories, and I do include information about them in the video before this one, so make sure you check that out if you're interested in those flips, but you'll get to see them in action shortly. So after I have my photos placed, then I place some cards to fill in any of the gaps or to put behind any photos that aren't going to fill a pocket entirely. And then I move on to think about what embellishments I might want to use. And at this point, I'm not really committing to them. I'm just getting some ideas of how I might want to lay out some of these cards. Now in this case, I'm not doing a whole lot of really elaborate embellishing and storytelling. And so I just put that circle sticker up there that says adoring these July moments. And then I put a sticker across the girls, across their dresses that say celebrating this. And I'm just adding some of those chipboard stickers that came with the kits every here and there, just to add a bit of detail to these photos and make them a little bit more interesting. And also I will add some journaling as well. So I'm going to start by using my hot off the press journaling template to add some lines. And my journaling here says, a second grad photo shoot, this time with more friends, held after restrictions were loosened and 10 could gather outside. And so that gives a little bit of context for this photo shoot and why there's a second one, because a couple weeks before there was another photo shoot, a much, much smaller photo shoot that took place when the restrictions had loosened, but not as much. And now I'm just, the way I'm doing this is I realize that I need my 4x6 photo flip. I'd rather it be on the bottom than on the top because I think it's going to make the top of the page too floppy and heavy. So that's why I made that funny face photo on the bottom and the other 4x6 is on the top. But then I'm forgetting that that was my plan as I put this here. And I'm going to stick that down, and then I don't know when I'm going to realize, but I will realize in a moment, oh, I'm going to go all the way to the trouble of hole punching. So because that lands on a hole punch, it covers it up, and I had to use my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch there. And now I'm waiting, hang on a second, this card is upside down, and then I'm going to realize, wait a minute, it's supposed to be down here on this one, which was my whole reason for putting that photo on the bottom. So now that I've taken that off and put it back on, it's not quite as sticky as it's supposed to be, and I'm worried that it's going to fall off. So I just used my tiny attacher to reinforce that with staples. And because it's on the inside of where the page protector is, where the rings go, it's not going to cause any trouble there at all. So now, as you can see, I have this stack of photos that I'm going to put on top of one another here. So this will be a double flip. And I just place the photo where I want it to be, and then I burnish the sticker wherever it ends up lying. They are see-through, so it's okay if they go over the bottom part of the photo above it. And what I really like about this is that I can kind of show Liv's individual photos with each of her friends. So every one of those photos that's all stacked up there are very similar. It's just Liv with one friend, whereas all the other ones are kind of different variations of group photos. So I do have this Lawn Fawn stamp set and the coordinating dies. It's called Open Me, I think. It could be called Push Here. I have both sets. And the one I'm using is actually called Push Here. And so what I would like to do is just stamp out a little indicator that these are flip pages, and just to alert the viewer that there's something to do to interact with this page here. And I decided to use this really light craft paper that I had put aside as one of my scraps that I wanted to use in this session. And I'm stamping the arrows, and then pardon my head as I stamp it says lift the flap. It's not exactly a flap, but it kind of is, right? The page itself is like a flap, like the pocket. Now I'm going to use my Cuddle Kid cutter here, which is a tiny little cutter that I use for easy, quick desktop use. I do have a Big Shot, and I also have a Grand Caliber, and I have a another Spellbinders one. But I really like my Big Shot the best. But for tabletop use during a video, especially if it fits through my Cuddle Kid, I usually prefer to use my Cuddle Kid. So, and here I am, and I actually think to myself, do I need a third one? And then I thought, no, if you go to the trouble of flipping one, you're going to notice that there's another one there. But then when I thought about it a little bit, I realized that actually I do want a third one. So I'm going to pull all of that stuff out again, even after I just put it back away again. And I'm just going to repeat the whole process one more time to make a third little lift the flap piece. And I really like how these look in craft. I have made these sorts of little interactive embellishments to put on things in the past, and I've stamped it onto white paper, and I've also stamped it onto various colored cardstock, but I really like this look. It looks so neutral, but it doesn't quite grab your attention quite as much as if it was in white. So I really do like it for that reason. So now, rather than putting it on the plastic, which might lift off, I'm going to put it in the photos, like right on the photos, which means taking them all out and putting them all back in again. And then when you're doing this, you just need the photo that's going to be on the back has to be upside down so that when you flip it up, it looks right. And because this one flips this way, the thing on the back doesn't have to be upside down. That one I actually put on the outside of the page. It's holding up okay so far. So I'm thinking here about actually writing the names of each of these friends, and what I thought might look really cute if I have the right letters is to have each person's name spelled out in the letter stickers that coordinate with their dresses. That idea makes me very happy. So I have all of these Kelly Perky letter stickers. I think a couple of these sets are actually from Studio Calico, but most of them are Kelly Perky. And so I picked out a bunch that were that Kelly Perky brand in the colors that go with these dresses. And I picked out a white one because one of these dresses is such a pale pink. I wasn't sure if I should make it be like with cream letters or with pink letters. But I think I'm going to end up going with pink. I took out the white ones, and my idea here was that I'd grab my Copic markers, which are what is in that black bag that I just put out on my desk. But before I even get to the point that I'm going to color in a cream color, I just decided it's a pink dress, and so I'm going to go with pink letters. It's not exactly the same shade of pink. It is quite a bit softer, but that's okay. So I'm just trying to decide where on each of these photos I'm going to spell out each person's name. And then I'm just taking each of these stickers and putting them right on the outside of the plastic. And the reason I decided to put them on the outside of the plastic is that I actually have different versions of all of these photos that were taken by my husband on his really good camera. And I just didn't have access to them today. And so there might come a time when I go back and change these photos to the same photos but taken with a better camera. If I do that, I might want to move these letters around, and I didn't want to sacrifice the letters. And so I just decided to put it on the outside, and that way I can switch out the photos if I need to, and I don't have to worry about finding the stickers and digging them out of my supplies again and all that. I might just print them up in a way that I'm sure that this placement will work. So the first one was Maëlle, and the second one is Sophia, and then we've got Sophie, and then we've got Amy after that. And I had to look up the spellings of different kids' names because I think there's a total of 4 Sophies here. And including my Sophie, who's Liv's sister, and everybody spells their name slightly differently. And some of them have like their official name is Sophia, but they go by Sophie. And so I just had to make sure I got it right. So I did look up from some texts that Liv had sent me before. Now, I really, from a design perspective, really wanted to place Mac's name in the lower right-hand corner, but I thought I just didn't want to put it on her butt, so I put it up in the sky instead. I know that they took a picture of like Liv and Mac together posing like the other ones, but I just didn't have it on my phone. I think Scott grabbed that one and I wasn't fast enough to catch it. So when I do replace them with the better photos, I'll put the one of Mac in there. Now I'm just writing the names of all the girls across the bottom of this page, of this photo, because here you can clearly see who everybody is, and this can be your reference in case, someday when she's looking through these, if she forgets these people, we have all of their names referenced. And so there's the insert. It's all done. I thought I'd get that one done and out of the way at the beginning just because it was mostly photos and I knew it wasn't going to take all that much of a scrapbooking skills or anything to put that one together. It was a bit of a no-brainer. So now here's how I normally start my process, which is with these templates, and then I sort out my photos and place them. And my goal is to have them all fit on one page, whatever time I'm kind of capturing, I try to have it fit in one page. So sometimes it might be a month back in the day when I used to scrapbook monthly, but here my goal is that these are basically most of July's photos, but typically these days when I am scrapping, it's a week, and sometimes 2 weeks, whatever the interval is since my last time of scrapping. That's usually what it is. So after I have my photos all placed out, and they're sort of loosely chronological, so like for example, that top left photo, my hair hasn't been cut yet, so I don't want that one to go after the other photos of me with my hair cut. And so those are the kinds of things that I keep in mind when I'm placing. And also I want to kind of balance. I like photos that have lots of darkness on them to be towards the bottom. Photos that have lots of sky in them, I like to have towards the top. Those are just kind of general rules. They're not, set in stone. I break them all the time, so it's not a huge deal. And so now I have cards behind all of my photos that need cards behind them. And now I'm just thinking about where I might put some of these other items. So this one says lazy days, relaxing and hanging out. So that's a good one to go on that photo of my daughter and her cousins hanging out. Then I had 2 photos of haircuts. One is just the hair on the floor and one was of the hairdresser and my daughter. So I just took out the one of hair on the floor because I'm a bit hard up for space here and I wanted to have a bit more space for journaling. So that's what that empty space is going to be for. I will go into my stash and look for something there to add some journaling. So then I have that July piece of chipboard that I placed over in the bottom right hand corner, and I'm basically trying to offset those 2 bright yellow July pops of color. They both have July on them and they're both the same color of yellow, so I don't want them too close together. Added celebrate to one of the photos in the wood veneer and adding just little stickers here and there where I feel it's kind of relevant. And this is sort of like the easy part, the no-brainer part, like just kind of spreading things around and trying to balance. And so I want July on this one, but trying to figure out where, using up some stash from my kits that I have on hand. I'm using Ali Edwards kits here from June, July, and August. And now here I am just going into my stash. I keep all of my cards organized beside me in a Razzcog, and you can see that video. Post it in a card right here, so hopefully I'll remember to do that, and you can check out that video if you want to see how I have my Project Life cards stored in that Razzcog. But basically I just pulled one of my categories over. It was my Ali Edwards 4x6 or 3x4 category, grabbed myself a journaling card, and that was it. Then I just put them back. Now here I'm using Tombow Mono Multi Adhesive to glue this Celebrate wood veneer onto this photo, and this is my favorite glue for adding paper to non-paper, for sticking paper to non-paper. And so as you can see, I used my finger to spread it around. Be careful doing that because that glue is really, really hard to get off your fingers, but I knew what I was getting into and decided to do it anyways. So I'm just going to put this lazy days hanging, relaxing and hanging out. And then above it, I put another chipboard that says friends and family. I'm going to go back and add Canada Day to that sticker as well. Now this one says today's story, and I'm just going to do some journaling here. It says we carefully celebrated Canada Day in 2 small group gatherings. It was lovely to see Judy, Shirley, Paula, and Claude, even if it was brief, and the kids received Easter bunnies since we couldn't gather for Easter. Dinner was at Tanya's with our immediate family of 10. So we were allowed to gather in groups of 10 at that point. I think that's still the limit for gathering. We don't do many gatherings, so... Oh my goodness, pardon me. I had to clear my throat there. Anyhow, so I wanted to journal how we carefully celebrated. In reality, we didn't stay very long. It kind of defeats the purpose to gather in one group of 10 and then go gather in another group of 10 because, like you're moving between them. You might as well have all had all 20 of you together. So we didn't really stay very long in that situation. But at this point in our province, we have closed borders, and there were only, I think, 1 or 2 cases. There might have been no cases at that point. Right now we have 1 case, and so that's not to say that we need to put down our guard, but we sometimes put down our guards so that we can just enjoy our life a little tiny bit after a whole lot of imposed rules and following them quite strictly. So I just added a little label there, and it was just one of those ones I'm trying to use up in this spread. It just says June 27th, 20 and Home Depot, so that I can have some reminders of where we bought the hot tub. And hang on a second, what did I do there? It looks like I put the wrong, it looks like I put July. And then I looked up the date, and it was actually June 27th. So I changed it with a little bit of white out there. And now I'm just having a look at some of these chipboard pieces that are in my stash because I felt like I needed a little something here and just wasn't sure what to use. It's this, so as you see, I really would like to put that July right on my cat. I think it looks really cool there, but I don't want July and July right beside each other. So I'm going to do a little switcheroo here. I still have that pop of yellow there with this card, but I have the Your Blessings May Come in Unexpected Ways instead of the July card there. So I really like how Rocky looks there. I just need a little label to say Rocky being his best self. I'm going to journal on this little tiny card. These are leftover Felicity Jane cards from many, many, many years ago. I've only received one Felicity Jane kit in my whole entire life, and it was many years ago when they were new. And yeah, so I just had to cut the little knobs off of it because that was a little perforated one. And now this card needs a little something from my stash as well. So I'm just looking through those, and there's this one that says So Darn Fun that came in the kit. I'm first trying to find some stuff from the kits that I'm using to embellish these, but nothing really does the trick. And so I go into my stash and I found this one. It says Time with You, and this is just from another kit. It's also Ali Edwards, and it's going to fill up this asphalt space quite nicely. So that's what I'm going to put there. And then I'll do some journaling along the top of the sky. It says, in late June/early July, we were still going for evening walks. By later July, we switched to early morning walks with just Scott and I. We let the kids off the hook. We had been forcing them to come for walks with us, and sometimes they easily came, and other times they came kicking and screaming, and not literally, and other times we just let them not come. But this was one of our last family walks that we did within the context of the COVID-19 shutdown. And so here I am, and see how I moved that July Memories card over here? I don't know exactly how or where I'm going to use it, but I definitely want to bring some of that bright yellow over to this side of the page. So that's what that card is doing, hanging out there in a weird place. It's just there to spark my memory to use something from that card, maybe cover up July Memories. So these 4 cards are all going to go together. So that's why I have them pulled out together like this. They're going to tell a single story. So I'm putting this sticker that says Outside Adventures, Making It Happen and Giving Thanks for the Experience, and stuck that down to the 4x6 photo. And now I'm going to do some journaling on this card. And it says, the plan was to go to the drive-in movies in the Valley to watch a video concert of Gwen Stefani and country artists. I couldn't remember the name of the other artists who were playing in that thing. Anyhow, my journaling goes on. When we arrived, they told us it would cost $150 for the carload for a pre-recorded video. Anyhow, back to my journaling. We were expecting $25. And so I'm going to underline that. I do that just so that the writing feels anchored on the page and like it belongs there. I'm going to adhere this photo, and it already has a sticker that says More Sunsets, and I'm covering up whatever that phrase was on the card. And then my journaling continues. It says, since we drove an hour to get there, we decided to sightsee. Because of COVID, most things were closed, so we went for a walk in a bird preserve, then drove to the lookout to watch unexplained fireworks. We had no idea why they were doing fireworks, but we could see them from the lookout, so we watched them. Then I just journaled on the sticker above, like that says Outside Adventures. I just put July 27th, 20. And there's that story captured. And now these are 2 photos of our makeshift roof that we have over our back deck. It's just one of those tents that you can use for gatherings and stuff. And we had that for Scott's photography business. And then we also used to lend it to the school every year for their spring fling. And one year it got broken. Whoever took it down didn't take it down very well. And so it got broken. And so we can't use it anymore as a tent, but we kind of rigged it up so that it could give us some relief from the scorching sun on our back deck until we can afford and have the time and money to add a proper roof to our back deck someday. I'm just trimming out some of these labels that I had picked out and had in that valet while I was waiting to figure out a way to use them. So I'll use these two right here, only I don't really want it to look quite so symmetrical. So I'm actually, when I put it down, I'm going to stick these so that they're not symmetrical because it just looks too weird that way. The big piece of chipboard says Life Right Now. And my journaling here on the green label says a makeshift roof on our deck gives relief from the sun. And then on the other picture, I said adding patio lights extends our use into the evening. So we really invested a lot more time into our outdoor space this year. And at the end of last year, our back deck went unused for a very long time because it's just so painfully small. We wished so much that we had paid more money and gotten a bigger deck when we built the house, but we didn't. So we've been trying to make do with what we have because it's very expensive to get a new deck, we've found. Here I'm going to add another one of those labels I'm trying to use up, and this one is also from Felicity Jane. It says, first post-COVID haircut at Main Spot. And I wanted to make sure I included the name of the salon because it's my friend's salon. It's actually a salon that she operates out of her house. And now on this one, I'm going to add one of those little red sticker labels. I had to check the date. I checked the date, but I'm not going to put the date on here, so I'm not sure why I did that. But, oh no, I had to check what it was called. It's called a conch piercing. And I just put, Liv got her conch piercing at Adept. She paid for it herself. I just went to sign the paper to give her permission. So now I'm including this photo of my basement. It's not a great photo, so it's one of those smaller printed ones. It's printed at 1.8 by 2.8. And I'm just going to journal underneath of it. It says, to celebrate One Direction's 10th anniversary, Sophie and Kate had a sleepover. Sophie crafted decorations and served themed food. So I wanted to make sure I captured that. I didn't have any pictures of the girls themselves, but that's just the space already. And that was July 23rd, which I think I had to look up there before I roller date stamped it. And now here's where I'm going to add that other pop of yellow to balance off my 2-pager here. And this is a photo of the place that we were digging out for the hot tub. It's going to go right beside our deck. I found this today and decided that it would look good in this space on the floor in the spa, in the salon. So they have their masks on because you do have to, we have mandated mask wearing here. And so whenever you go into a store or a salon, you have to wear masks. Although if you gather in a group of 10 or less with people that you know and are familiar with and are kind of sort of exclusive with, you can gather without masks. So if somebody comes over to your house, for example, they don't have to wear a mask, but you can't have more than 10 people at your house at a time. It may have changed recently. I haven't been keeping track because we just don't do big gatherings. I've gotten used to just whenever we do something, we just check the government website and make sure that we're allowed to do it before we do it. So here my journaling says, ordered hot tub June 27th, will be delivered mid-July. Dug out the spot in the grass, received call, hot tub delayed until late August. Had a rattler. Plan. Add crusher dust, sand, and patio stones. At least we can take our time. I'm just going to underline all of that. And then I added that chipboard piece that says time moves so very fast. And then in brackets, or underneath of it, not in brackets, but it says, unless you're waiting for a hot tub. So here are my pages. Here's how they ended up looking all together. And this is without the insert, so this is what the 2-page spread looks like on its own. I really like how that yellow is kind of like it pops out in those 3 different places. It pulls the page kind of together, and the wood veneer is spread out as well in 3 different places across that spread. Here are a few of the close-ups so that you can see how this looks close up. I have one photo in there that doesn't have a caption, it's just self-explanatory. And then we also have the insert here. So here's my insert, which is already in the page protector, but I just wanted to give a sense of how that looks in the center of this spread. And then of course we have these flips. There's one of them flipped up. And then there's the other one. And of course that first one has actually 2 flips. So thanks so much for watching. This page was one of the ones that came together fairly quickly. It didn't have a whole lot of elaborate stamping and embellishing. It's just kind of like a get her done kind of a page. And I have another one of those coming up very shortly, so stay tuned. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos. Thanks so much for watching and have a really great scrappy week.